So, everyone, I'm Warwick Cathro. It's my privilege to be the National Secretary of the Australian Electric Vehicle Association. That's the association that represents the owners and the drivers, and it has done for more than 50 years. Now, how do I advance the slides? I think it's this thing. Okay, I'm going to start with this quote. It's from a road trip report that was just published a few days ago from a colleague of mine, Peter Campbell. He took his Ioniq 5 with a camper trailer, towing a camper trailer from Canberra to East Gippsland, and spent some days in various campgrounds. And he wrote this, amongst other things. Over 3 days, the car ran the camp fridge continuously, except when we used the car to drive to the starts of a few short walks. We used the kettle to heat water for hot drinks and washing up. We used a toaster. We used a microwave for reheating some prepared meals and steaming veggies, and an induction cooktop to boil water for pasta. Running the fridge, microwave and induction cooktop on full power simultaneously was not a problem. I think while they were there, their battery level went down from something like 80% to 55% or something like that, running all these appliances. So much for electric vehicles ruining the weekend. And I think they were in a campground that banned generators, because petrol and diesel generators, because of their noise. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to build a little bit on what Bryce and John were just discussing about myths, mainly about highway charging. I'm going to talk about the more road trip reports that you can read on our website. I'm going to talk about an RFID card to make the charging quicker and simpler. I am actually going to reveal the winner of the inaugural National Charging Station Award that AEVA has started this year. Okay, so we recently did a survey of our members. We got almost 500 of our members responding to a survey. And by far, it's obvious anyway, but most charging is done at home, okay? And also, waiting times for highway chargers are short. Now, I can speak from personal experience here. My wife and I took our MG4 battery electric car from Canberra to Moreton Bay and back in May and early June this year. We went to Sydney and up the coast. We came back along the New England Highway and through Denman and Bathurst. At no time did we find a broken charger. At no time do we have to wait even a minute to start charging. Now, full disclosure, that isn't always the case. And when we drove our car here to Hobart, coming across on the ferry last week, we did have to wait at one charger at Tarcutta, because as it happened, about 4 other EVs arrived 20 minutes before we did, and there's only 2 plugs there. Okay, so we had to spend 50 minutes having interesting chats with other EV owners. It doesn't happen very often. I would say less than 1 in 10 times would you have any kind of significant wait on a highway charger. Would it be longer? Would it happen more often between Christmas and New Year and over Easter? Probably yes. Okay, but basically when you're charging, my experience is I tend to stop for about 25 minutes, time to have a toilet break, maybe buy some coffee or a Kit Kat or whatever, and you're almost ready to go back to the car and start your journey again. Our survey shows that EV drivers would tend to prefer these highway charging stops where there are food outlets, toilets, shelter. And they also care about how many plugs there are there and the speed of the chargers, which is kind of why the Tesla superchargers are valuable. And I use them on that trip back along the New England Highway. There's usually 4 or 6 or more at various sites, and they're quite reliable, but they are more expensive. Still significantly cheaper than petrol, but more expensive than some of the other chargers. Okay. Also, you have to remember that when you're doing a highway journey, you don't necessarily always relying on the fast chargers on the highways. There's also your accommodation. And on our trip, we deliberately chose accommodation at Port Macquarie and at Ballina and at Bathurst, where the charging was provided for EV owners by the motel, or in this case, it was the Ballina Travellers Lodge, in May this year. They had I think it was a 7 kilowatt AC charger there. We added 40 kilowatt hours. It was free to guests who were staying there. So that's just an example of destination charging. And EV drivers will often try to stay at places where they can do destination charging. Okay, I want to recognise the Electric Highway Tasmania here, and this is a map. You can see it actually many places around this expo, the work that's been done, and these are all the charges that are being provided in Tasmania. I mentioned earlier road trip reports. The one that I mentioned to East Gippsland is one of 5 that was recently put up on our website. And it's interesting to read these reports. They do provide some sort of context, what the sort of interesting features of the journey were, what the charges were like, you know, what the journey experience was like. So check these reports out. I've just given how to find them on the AEVA website. And they do include links to PlugShare where there's more information about those charging places. Now, we also have little RFID cards. AEVA supplies them to their members, and they're quick and easy to use. I mean, one of the issues with highway charging is you do need a lot of apps on your phone. You know, I think I've got about 8 or 9 of these apps, a ChargeFox app, an EV app, and so on and so on. You can get one RFID card and you can validate it for most of those apps. So when you go up to a charger, you can just tap on it and it recognises who you are and away you go. And I've said on this slide here, I use mine at chargers provided by EV ChargeFox, BP Pulse, Everty, Explorin and EVX. And I used several of those on this trip to Hobart from Canberra, and I used, I think, about 5 different chargers with my RFID card on the trip to Moreton Bay. However, can't use them at Ampol or NRMA or Tesla chargers yet. Okay, now I want to speak about the award that AEVA has just given to the best, well, in our opinion, the best charging station in Australia. In fact, our members nominated 84 different charging sites around Australia, different numbers in different states. And the branches of AEVA's organised into 8 state and territory branches. They chose eight finalists. It's a bit like the Australian of the Year award, where you have a sort of finalist from each state and territory and then a national winner. And then we had a judging panel that was appointed by our board. Okay, and just a word about the Tasmania experience. These are the charges in northern Tasmania. And I actually used the one at Westbury on Wednesday morning. We got off the ferry at just after 6:30 in our MG4. We had about 120 kilometres of range at that point. Westbury was only 65 kilometres away, so we made it to Westbury. And so there are 2 charging spots there, the photo that I took when we were charging on Wednesday morning. That's our MG4 at the front. Behind us is a car with a bicycle rack. The thing is, the way they've arranged those charges, if you were towing a caravan or a trailer or a camper trailer or something and took that second spot there, you have no problem. So you can use that charger if you're towing. Not only that, but well, just a bit more. They are really fast chargers, the ones at Westbury. Just giving a personal example, 350 kilowatt chargers. Mentioned the second bay suitable for cars that are towing. If you're disembarking the ferry and your destination's Hobart, it's really well located. And there's an excellent cafe and there's an IGA supermarket at the site. So a plug for their cafe, the Hub Cafe. We arrived there at 7:45 in the morning and they opened at 7:30 and they served a terrific breakfast. So I recommend it. Now, I'm just listing some more of the charges these were the ones that were nominated by members of AEVA for the Tasmanian Award. Actually, the Tasmanian winner was the one at Kings Meadows near Launceston. Okay, and these were all the state and territory winners. I won't read them all out, but you know, each branch selected a winner. And I've mentioned different companies that run these charges. Now, getting down to the results of our award, we gave 2 highly commended awards and 1 runner-up and 1 national winner. The highly commended awards, Can River in Victoria, where there are both Tesla and ChargeFox chargers, there was a really critical gap on the Princes Highway. If you wanted to travel from down the Princes Highway, let's say between Bega and Moe, I think there was nothing. This is a couple of years ago. Certainly in 2020, 2021, there was nothing there. Now there's an excellent site at Can River. It's a well-lit site. It's got bakery and a cafe. It's even got skating facilities for those who are into that. So that was one of the ones we commended. We also commended the one at the Campbelltown Catholic Club near Sydney, and that was because they had made an effort to deal with drivers who are in wheelchairs. And we do have EV drivers. I know one resident of Canberra who has a wheelchair. He's had his Tesla modified with hand controls and uses a wheelchair. And this is one of the very few sites that has made an effort to support drivers that are in wheelchairs. The national runner-up was Pheasant's Nest, which is just on the outskirts of Sydney, on the southwest of Sydney. It's run by Ampol. It has 9 plugs on each side of the highway, so it's very rare that you would ever have to wait at those sites. Refreshments, toilets, there's the Ampol foodery there, undercover charges. There was one little glitch that happened when they changed their app over in May this year and didn't communicate terribly well with the EV drivers. But it's a terrific site, and that was our national runner-up. The winner wasn't a Tasmanian site. It was Snowtown in South Australia, a site run by the RAA and by ChargeFox. It's at Perry's Roadhouse, where there is food and toilets. There are 3 fast chargers, 200 kilowatt chargers. It's open 24 hours, 7 days a week. It's got good lighting. It's got shade and shelter over the vehicles, which at that location is very important. It's got pull-through for vehicles that are towing. It's got a priority bay for people with disabilities. It's also got an AC charger as a backup. And it's an important location. If you're driving from Adelaide to Port Augusta, it's sort of halfway in between those sites. And I've got some photos. So this is the site at Snowtown. And this is another photo of the Snowtown site. And so you're probably thinking after this talk, AEVA sounds like a really good organisation. Why don't I join it? And here's how you go if you'd like to think about joining AEVA. It does cost $55 a year, or half that for concession members. And you can have the benefit of benefiting from discussions with other members, learning from other members, getting the RFID card, and basically helping to spread the word about EVs and to perhaps counter some of the myths about EVs. There are a lot of EV haters out there. There's a lot of YouTube videos that are written by people it's hard to think what their motive is unless it's to make sure everybody spends their hard-earned cash on petrol and diesel, and let alone while they're doing it, and excuse my language, buggering up the atmosphere of this planet. So that's my take on highway charging. You can learn a lot from the EVA website, and I reflected on my personal experience. So thank you all.